Finally, after 4 months of waiting, Barcelona's presidential elections will take place on Sunday. And by Sunday evening, we should have a new president of FC Barcelona. And what a week for this to happen, as this is the same week that former President Josep Bartomeu was arrested in connection to the i3 Ventures scandal and where those payments were going for said scandal. I want to be clear up front. This video is not vouching for one individual candidate, but there is a heavy favorite, of course, as you can tell by the title. To be quite frank, all three of the candidates, regardless of who it is, are going to be dealing with the same situation as in the financial and economic crisis that Barcelona is currently dealing with from day one of the job. Some major questions will be asked immediately of the new president, such as, can they keep the structure of the club the same, or will a minority part of the club need to be sold to pay off the egregious short-term debt that the club now finds itself in? You know I love talking about players and tactics and things on the field, but Barcelona's about to have a new president. So we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on behind the scenes and some of the things that are going to shape the future of the club for years to come. Hi, I'm Dan Hilton. This is the Barcelona Podcast, YouTube exclusive. Some other questions that all three would answer the same way. How fast can fans get back safely in the stands? Because unfortunately, this isn't up to the presidential candidates, but instead the local Catalan health officials and more broadly, the Spanish government. It's not rocket science that getting fans back in those seats and getting people back in the museum will immediately be a help to making revenue in a hurry. The club is still in some financial trouble, but that trouble lessens or grows by the day depending on when fans can return. In a little more distant future, there is the discussion point about a potential Super League. This doesn't matter now, but it is something that could rear its ugly head in the very near future, especially if tension related to the pro-independence view held by both Laporta and Font put the club in a precarious position in La Liga. This is not a new concept, and a discussion of that ilk is not for this American sitting thousands of miles away to decide what's best for anybody involved. It's just a point to remind people that it could exist. The last thing I want to say before we go over the three candidates is that while we are usually talking matches, players, and sometimes transfers, this is politics. Don't get that twisted. That means by the time this is out, most people are in their camp and they aren't leaving. Gosh darn it. And all indications from Mundo Deportivo polls to just a gut feeling, Joan Laporta is the overwhelming favorite, and it's no longer close, if it ever was. So while I will be discussing Toni Freixa and Victor Font first, it's because it's easier to compare the pros and cons for each of them against the backdrop of what has made Laporta the heavy favorite. So let's talk Toni Freixa first. I think he may somehow have pulled ahead of Font as a second choice, but only because he always had his own voting bloc, and Laporta is peeling off people that were going to vote for Font and have switched to the former president. The thing working against Freixa the most is that while he is trying to distance himself from the previous regime, he was a member of that board until 2015. Laporta was Rizal and Bartomeu's boss, but taking orders from them is something that Freixa hasn't been able to sidestep. He has leaned into some of the ways he hopes to fix the finances, including a deal with Hong Kong-based company DSDAC, someone can let me know how to pronounce that one in the comments below, who will pay Barcelona 60 million euros per year to be the main sponsor. He has also confirmed that the strategic business project put forth by Bartomeu, called Barca Corporate, could be a way to relieve some of the club's debt. Freixa has said that there is an offer of around 250 million euros to purchase 49% of Barca Corporate, which would be helpful, but would immediately raise questions as to who holds what power in the club. On the topic of Xavi, and yes, the use of the legend's name is going to wear you down in this video, Freixa has said that he sees Xavi as the B-team coach and then eventually the first-team manager. There are a few more things to say about Freixa, but honestly, his path to victory is both narrow and mainly in line with socios in Catalan society who are not watching this video. And since I mentioned Xavi Hernandez, let's pivot to Victor Font. The current manager of Al Sadd in Qatar, winning trophies hand over foot there by the way, can be credited with both building Font's case for the presidency and arguably destroying it. Due to Laporta being the heavy favorite and Xavi also having a good relationship with him, the Barca legend has stayed out of committing to one candidate, though he's the most important person in Font's project. Font not only has said that Xavi would be his general manager, but potentially his first team manager down the line. But he's doubled down on the connection Xavi will have to him if he wins, going so far as to say, if anyone finds statements from Xavi that are not true, I will leave the electoral race. At the last debate, he once again said that Xavi, Jordi Cruyff, more on him in a second, Tito Blanco, and another person that cannot be named are crucial to his project. Blanco, who was a sporting director at Levante for a time, was to coordinate grassroots efforts with the help of Joan Villa and Albert Benegas. Toni Nadal, uncle of tennis star Rafael Nadal and brother of Miguel Angel Nadal, has also been named as a major figure in the project. Most recently, Font has pushed hardest for electronic voting and has gone out on a limb with a plan to bring back 25,000 fans to the Camp Nou starting April 4th. ambitious goals indeed. The project that Font put forth, hinting at many of these names for months now, made a lot of sense before Laporta came along. Then, all of a sudden, Xavi had to sit on the fence, as did Jordi Cruyff, who could still be a firm candidate to be Laporta's sporting director, though Marc Overmars has also been rumored. So instead of speaking about how Laporta deflated Font's chances, let's just spin it as to why Laporta is the favorite. To me, there are 3 big reasons why he's so far out in front. More than anything else, he's done it before as Barca president. Yes, he was close to having a vote of no confidence against him when he was president, but he didn't. Barca had their most successful era ever, and the team he built are huge reasons why. And unlike in 2015 when he couldn't unseat Bartomeu, who was just coming off a treble win, this again feels like Laporta's political moment. Oftentimes politics isn't just about who is the best for the job, but rather who the voters feel is the best for the moment. And Laporta certainly fulfills that second criteria with great effect. Aside from the financial situation, Laporta is looking at another huge challenge, and that is forming a team as good as he did the first time. Txiki Begiristain, Ferran Soriano, Marc Ingla, architects of Barca's greatness, are all doing their thing elsewhere, like at Man City with Pep Guardiola. Johan Cruyff, meanwhile, is no longer around to give the advice that Laporta so wisely took during his first term as president. Reason 2 is what we've kind of already gone over, and it's also kind of politics 101. From the day Laporta announced he was running, he became the favorite because he can fall back on previous accomplishments, and most crucial in politics, he has the most name recognition. This allowed him to keep his project largely a secret, even declining the debates until the 28th of February, when 20,000 plus mail-in ballots had already been handed in. If a soci requested to vote by mail, they must do so in that fashion, and this is a savvy political calculation by Laporta. Similarly, he waited for the presentation of his sporting project until last week, and as I mentioned when discussing Font, that presentation might have been the final nail in the coffin for the other 2 candidates. Victor Valdez, Jose Ramon Alazanco, Matteo Alemany, and Albert Benanes, the last of which was another figure who was supposed to be part of Font's project, were all in attendance. The last major reason he's the favorite is the one that is the least provable, and that's his relationship with Messi. When he says that the other 2 won't be able to convince Messi to stay and he will, he could be lying, but at least the statement that he has the best chance to convince him to stay is very true, based on their relationship. And speaking of relationships, that cult of personality around Laporta has been used as an advantage in this campaign that it wasn't in 2015. From the poster in Madrid to hinting at the relationship he has with Mino Raiola, hint Erling Haaland, and a ridiculous amount of good footballers, Laporta could be a force in transfer negotiations with his great charisma. Understanding the moment, he's also been the most adamant with his support of Ronald Koeman, though it's no surprise that he shared these sentiments in recent interviews as the team has been in great form in 2021, when most of the interviews have been conducted. Yet, it has been rumored that Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal boss, is one of the options to occupy the Barca bench under Laporta if Koeman doesn't continue next season. He has also thrown cold water on the idea of Xavi coming right in and taking over, a political calculation that doesn't seem to have backfired in any way. And what part of his plan has he already revealed? Well, aside from some personnel, he has mentioned that digital initiatives will be part of the economic response. And speaking of, did you know that I co-host the pregame show, The Locker Room, on FC Barcelona's official Twitch channel? That usually takes place at 8 o'clock CET the day before every match, so check that out. Anyway, Laporta has also mentioned that entertainment will be a part of the financial recovery plan as well, so obviously I'm intrigued to see what that's all about. I'm not a big fan of conflict, as those who watch me try to diffuse the negativity in the comment section know, and I am glad to see the arguing amongst presidential candidate supporters be over. In a perfect world, Laporta wins and absorbs Font and many of his ideas, making him a board member or something. I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. They are quite alike though, and that's what's been so frustrating about this election, other than the whole waiting way too long for it. If you actually consider the methods that both Laporta and Font want to use to lead the club, they are very similar. I think we waste our energies as Kool-Aids fighting against the concepts of defining who is a Nunista and who is a Cruyffista. I've heard so many things about Font being in the pocket of Bartomeu and being a devout Nunista, and I don't really get that. You can call Laporta a Cruyffista by any definition, because he knew and took counsel from Johan Cruyff, obviously. But even though Font has fumbled his message at times and gone against Laporta, as any other candidate in a political race would do, he's also indicated that his methods and personnel closely align with what you'd expect from a Cruyffista. This isn't a defense of the way Font has stumbled to finish his campaign. This is just a point that politics, and more unfortunately the tribalism that comes with social media, makes us think that two things that are quite alike must be opposites because they are in direct competition. Regardless of who wins, maybe I should hedge this and just say when Laporta wins, I'll be overjoyed that Barcelona have a new president. And part of that excitement comes from this new president getting to lead the club out of the wilderness that it's been in for the last few months. I'm excited about not only what's happening on the field, but what's going to happen behind the scenes. Yes, the club is in a dangerous financial situation. The economic crisis is dire. But Sunday starts a new day, and Kool-Aids can once again have faith that the things going on behind the scenes are not only to benefit them, the fans, but that the club will be healthy for many, many years to come, as bad as the situation may be. I know this is a bit different from what I usually do, so I'd really appreciate it if you give us a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. Those notifications are extra helpful when I do those match reviews like I will tomorrow against Osasuna. And until then, as always, Forza Barça.